And I am thrilled to introduce
back yet?
Maybe, John, would you be able to let Georgia know?
Yeah, well,
I tried to mute her.
Yeah, we can probably mute people. Interruption. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Great. Like I said, I'm Heather Dean, and I am thrilled to introduce a friend of mine and also a colleague and teammate, Lisa Koenecke. She is a certified diversity practitioner with a certification from Cornell University. She has given TEDx talks, authored 2 books, and teaches at Lakeland University. And mint, the herb mint, makes her sneeze. And she wants to know if there's anybody else in the group that mint makes her sneeze or makes you sneeze. And without further ado, I will turn it over to Lisa.
Thank you, Heather. It's just one of those fun things, you know, mint makes you sneeze. And I think that we can all go and watch Georgia's friend at the baseball game who is, you know, next door. That would be wonderful. So I am so excited
it takes a day or so
here, my
if
friends.
you spend it on the weekend.
Okay, there we go. Fantastic. I was a middle school counselor, so really nothing bothers me. So, you know, it's just helpful to have all of these. Oh, my friends, hello and welcome, every one of you. I am Lisa Koenecke, and Heather has taught me so many things. And in the spirit of giving back, when she asked me to do this, I was like, yes, absolutely. And I already apologized to John for making him nervous that I might not show up. So I am here. And in fact, I told John and Nels earlier, I was on at 9 o'clock because I just wanted to make sure that I was all set. And I was hoping that I wouldn't be live broadcast into the sermon, which I wasn't. So that's wonderful. So today, my friends, we are going to talk about fostering an inclusive climate. And as we go through, if there are any questions at any time, please feel free to put them in the chat. We're going to have some fun. We're going to have some interactivity. And the other thing that I wanted to say is I was trying to do research on you, not in a creepy way, just, you know, trying to figure things out and listen to a video about how the fact that you are a community Lutheran church. And I was like, that is fantastic. So good for all that you're doing. So let's order on.
Lisa, just a quick point. Some of the folks are coming in with their using their phone, and so they may not see the charts. So just to let you know that.
Absolutely. Friends who are on the phones, I'm happy to send this to my friend Heather, who will share this to you, share this with you later. Do feel free to, you know, however we need to do things, let's just do this. And I think she mentioned I was a graduate, I teach graduate students. So if you want to finish your breakfast, your coffee, whatever it is, you know, furry friends are welcome. Human friends are welcome too. So again, let's just have some fun today. So yes, so yay community church. And when I was on my journey of learning how to become a more inclusive and certified diversity practitioner, I want to share the fact that I am now bringing land acknowledgements into my presentations. And so for some of this, it may be familiar, some may not. I am coming to you live from Middleton, Wisconsin, so I don't even have to explain my accent to you, and we are in the same time zone. So that's wonderful because I have trained all over the country. So with the Ho-Chunk Nation, you have a pictured right there, and that is a picture of Wilfred Cleveland, who was the president. I don't know if he's still currently the president, but that was the dedication of the Ho-Chunk. I think it was the building. I know that there's a residence hall there right now at UW-Madison. And so I just want to read this real quickly to you that we recognize this land as the ancestral home of the Ho-Chunk Nation, who have called this land Dejope since time immemorial. So just know that we are on borrowed land. So that is my land acknowledgement to you. You're going to hear some things today that are very I'll just say very gay. Let's just say that, okay? And so when we go through things, I'll give you some information and some vocabulary and whatnot, and just know that how I explain things, you can substitute any people who are underrepresented or don't have a voice. on a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about. So the picture that you have up there right now, if you are Indigenous and if you identify anywhere in the LGBT realm, you are known as Two-Spirit. And so I just wanted to give you an idea of the picture on the left is our friends who might be Two-Spirit transgender. The one on the right is the lesbian, gay, bisexual. So just wanted to throw that out there. I've yet to meet my first person who identifies as Two-Spirit, but I'm looking forward to it. Why do I do what I do? Thanks for asking. Okay, I grew up Missouri Synod Lutheran. Okay, and this is my family. This is my maternal side of the family, and my mom, upper right, she's got the hoochie mama necklace on there and teal, whatever. But in front of her is my Uncle Norby, and my Uncle Norby was born with polio. And so growing up, he always had those crutches, and he was, how I say, he had a varied ability rather than disability. And it was so amazing because he was brilliant, taught me how to play chess. And that's how I identified with Uncle Norby. And so I just want to bring that forward. When I'm talking about these things, I talked about underrepresented. So it could be abilities, it could be veteran status, it could be adopted, whatever it might be. Neurodivergent is a new term that, if you haven't heard yet, that people are using for friends who are on the autism spectrum. So I just wanted to put that in there, that we all come from some type of diversity, whether it was us, someone we knew, and that's why we're working on fostering an inclusive climate. And I have to say, you are the first audience to see a picture of my Uncle Norby who had polio. So I just wanted to share that with you because I feel safe with you, Heather Dean. So there we go. Now, the next thing you probably aren't ready for. Well, let's just say, yeah, you're like, Heather's seen this before. You probably woke up and said, okay, I know we're having a speaker. And for those of you who are on the phone, let me describe what we're seeing right now. There's a picture of a beaver on the left, and there's a picture of Lisa Koenecke circa 1986 on the right, who was homecoming queen. I grew up in Reedsburg, Wisconsin, up by the Dells, an hour north of Madison. And I was our school mascot. That's what the beaver is there for. And my friends, I also was homecoming queen. It was a small school, but you can call me Queen Beaver, okay? And this is our salute. But the thing that I want to tell you is that if you ever take a picture of a beaver, make sure that you have Cheerios. Because as you look at the beaver picture, for those of you who can see it, by the beaver's left foot, there's a Cheerio. So if you ever need to make a beaver smile for a picture, just bring some Cheerios along. Or if you need to have a tiara in 1986 as homecoming queen, and you're wearing a dress that your mom went and got you because you don't like wearing dresses, just know that ethically, we did spend a lot of money at the store, even though we returned the dress. I just wanted to throw that out there because I'm talking to church people. Okay, so there's that. And the biggest thing growing up, I have already told you that we were Missouri Synod Lutheran. So the biggest difference, you were either Lutheran or you were Catholic growing up in Reedsburg. Methodist didn't even come into the conversation, okay? And fancy ELCA, that's what we called you. You were in town. We were in Loganville. Okay, so Lutheran, Catholic, and growing up, I was forbidden to date a Catholic boy, but they never said anything about a Catholic girl. Oh, so there we go. So I would love to know, my friends, in the chat, or if you're on the phone, you can unmute. Is there a cover of a magazine that you would love to be on? You could put it in the chat. Oh, John's thinking. I love that. Any magazine. Doesn't have to be one of these right here. Go ahead, 608-238-2732. Do you have a cover of a magazine you would want to be on? I see one chat coming through. Oh, thank you, Andy. You're going to be on Shape. And I'm going to go with probably the fact that Shape is probably like a health style type magazine versus like triangles and rectangles and yes, I see you waving at me. Okay, good. Oh, Heather Dean, Educators Weekly. Yes, absolutely. And Heather's going to teach us about the different parts of our brain when we're doing all of this stuff. So that's wonderful. It's just a fun thing to think about. One last one. Anyone else? Cover of a magazine. Scientific American. Thank you, John. I have not read that, but when you are on the cover, please let me know and I will absolutely get that for you. Excellent. Did you know that there are 3 types of people? Well, I'm going to tell you that there are. You, my friends, were either born left-handed, right-handed. Some of you might have been born ambidextrous. So what I would love to find out is, I would love to, for those of you who can see me, let's see your physical either in a moment. 1 is for left-handed if you were born left-handed. If you were born right-handed, show me a number 2. And if you're ambidextrous, I want to see a 3. Go ahead. 1s, 2s, 3s. Heather's left-handed. I think I knew that. Lots of rights. 2, peace to all of you. Nels is left-handed. That is fantastic. Jocelyn, is that a 3 I see? No, it's a 2. Okay, excellent. Oh, fantastic. All right, because here's what I want to tell you about growing up in Reedsburg. I didn't have any gay role models. I didn't know that it was okay. In fact, my sister had to tell me that I was gay. Yep, 25 years old. Sitting around the Thanksgiving dinner table, having a conversation. You know, I really can't find any boys that I want to date. I'm really struggling with that. To which my sister leans forward. Well, Lise, it's because you're gay. Please pass the carrots. Just like that. Yeah. So I passed the carrots because that's what good Lutherans do, right, Lutherans? Yeah. And then I started crying. So there you go. So it comes down to carrots. But what I can tell you is, actually, Heather, I'm going to ask you this question. Oh, you can talk to your family. You can do that too. Somebody else I think was left-handed, but okay,
no,
Heather.
I can do it. I can do it. I just needed to yell at my kids.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Yay. Okay, Heather, you were born left-handed. Did anyone ever try to change you to be right-handed?
Yes, my kindergarten teacher. But
Tell me more.
Well, my mom is left-handed and my older sister is left-handed and my dad is ambidextrous and my other 2 sisters are right-handed. So in my family, it wasn't a big deal. But when I went to kindergarten, she kept telling me with the big crayon to put it in the right hand. I remember that. And I just would do it for a little bit and kind of forget and go back and do it the way that it felt right for me.
Thank you for sharing that. Yes, my wife had the same experience with scissors. So she grew up, she went to a parochial school and the nun wouldn't let her go out to recess until she practiced cutting with her right hand, because in the nun's words, life will be easier for you. And let me tell you that in our world, and I know that Midvale is super, super welcoming and inclusive already, and we're going to learn some more things because of what Heather has told me, and changing people is really hard. We all know that, right? And so this is sometimes what it might look like. So for those of you on the phone, I have pictures of circles with dots in them. And the first one is exclusion. And on the inside, it's all green dots. And then all of the colored dots. And I don't mean to be defamatory when I'm talking about people of color. I don't mean that. There are just dots that are of different colors on the outside. That's what exclusion is. Segregation is if you were ever in I was a middle school counselor, okay? So segregation is what our cafeteria looked like. You've got, you know, lots of white kids sitting everywhere, and then the kids of color would sit together, or the kids who were in special ed would sit together. So that was kind of segregation. We tried to do integration, right? So it can work where you have the different tables. But as an adult, when we walk into a room, usually when it comes to our unconscious bias, we want to sit with people who look like us, maybe sound like us, and that can be generationally too. And I don't know how it is at church, but boy, every family had their pew. Is that way at Midvale? I just like to know. Or does everybody sit everywhere? I'm just curious.
I think people are just kind of territorial, and they generally go to the same place every time.
And Andy, and here's what's interesting. Again, talking to a church group, we sat on the left side. And so it was like, are we going to be judged because we're not on the right side of God? I'm telling you, these are the lessons that I was taught growing up. But you could tell when the Koeneckes weren't there. Very, very small church. In fact, they would wait for us for Sunday school if our carload was late because all of the cousins were there. 2 people in my confirmation class. Okay, I digress. Coming back, because what we want is inclusion, right? And we want everyone to feel that they're a part of it, that I can have a conversation with my friend Emmy. I can also talk to Nan and Mark, and it doesn't matter if we have nothing in common. The one thing we might have in common would be the weather, which is why a lot of people talk about the weather, okay? And that's okay, it's a great place to start. And then unified, for those of you on the phone, unified, it's all, everyone is now the same color circle. And that can be good, that can be bad, but I just wanted to give you that visual representation. And again, I will send this PowerPoint to Heather to share it with everyone. Sometimes when we talk about the differences between diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I think you might have heard that term in the business world, well, that's kind of what I'm a trainer of. And I love this, even though it's a little blurry, I apologize for that. The difference between equality and equity. Equality, everybody has a bike. So you can see those of you who are on the phone, I have a friend who is in a wheelchair. I have someone who is really, really tall on a bike that doesn't fit the person. Then there's a person that everything fits. And then we have a young person on a bike that's way too big for them. So that's equality. That means everybody has a bike. Equity, the bikes fit them. And so I think that you're doing a good job at Midvale Community with, you know what, we've got different groups. Some people like this group. And did I see something about coffee less? So some people tell me, Randy, you seem like a very nice person and you're nodding your head. Can you tell me about, you're not in trouble. What does coffee less mean?
Coffeeless Fellowship is via Zoom, and it's a small group with our visitation pastor.
That's wonderful. And here's how I took that when I just read it. I was like, how nice. They're integrating people who drink tea, who drink water. And so there you go. It had a double meaning for me, and it's just coffeeless. So that's what, Randy, thank you for sharing that, my friend. Okay, so again, we're looking at equality. All right, that we want the different things to reach different people. And I think that in the welcoming video that you did, some people like the traditional scriptures. Some people like the music. I love the fact that your pastors were wearing t-shirts because boy, we had to dress to the nines when we went to church. And so I'm just loving that you're bringing all of that together for a more equitable service. And my guess is that all of you in some shape, manner, or form are a safe person. Does anybody see the difference between the skeletons? For those of you who are on the phone, I have a picture of different skeletons with labels on them. Who sees the difference? And I apologize if anyone is from the pirate culture or if you had pirates in your growing up. But Andy saw it. I can see Andy laughing.
I'm laughing because I have a friend who once a year changes his Facebook page so the language is pirate.
Arg, that's wonderful, IHB. So for those of you on the phone, I have a picture that is all skeletons, white, black, straight, gay, religious, atheist, and a pirate. And the pirate is missing part of their leg. So again, I'm hoping that this is taken in good spirit. I'm not talking about abilities or anything like that. I was just hoping all of you could be that. And my friends, anywhere, anytime, in your business, in your communities, and we're going to talk about this too, anything with a rainbow on it, I know from the LGBT community, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer questioning, and the plus, that you are a welcoming person. And Heather Dean, you have already done this for me. You have she and her as your pronoun in your Zoom window, which is a wonderful nod that I, as a cisgender person, means I was born female, still identify as female, am helping my friends who are trans, because 3 out of 10 of us know someone who is trans. And even if you have grandchildren or whatever it can be, I'm going to tell you, my friends, you're going to have a lot of the younger generation who are like, don't put me in a box, don't label me. And so that's a little bit what this presentation is. And then we always have to bring in Maya Angelou, because my friends on the phone, it says, I've learned that people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And this is what it's all about. You belong to Midvale Community Lutheran for a reason. Maybe it's because you can walk to it. That's wonderful. But if the people there weren't welcoming and nice, you would find something else. And so that's what this is about. So in the chat, I know that some of your values are, you know, what I've posted. Well, actually, I have it in a slide later than that. But I would love to know, what are some of your, this is, you know, let's just think about this. What are some of your core values? Does anyone have any core? Well, I know that you do. Would anyone care to share what some of your core values might be? Or, you know, integrity, accountability. You could even do your favorite thing about Midvale. Or you can unmute if you want to too. Welcoming, thank you, John. Yes, and I saw the term all to everyone. That's wonderful. Thank you, Heather. Families are all represented. Non-judgmental. Thank you, Lori, for that. Georgia says inclusivity. Yes. Oh, and forgiveness. That's good. Nan and Mark, accepting. Thank you. Yes, that's what this is all about, my friends. And learning and love. Unconditional love is what it is. Absolutely. Heather's working on learning, and you always are. You are just, and I love that about you, not in a romantic way, but I appreciate the fact that you are always learning and you're helping me to be better as well. So yes, work at the church, respect, accountability, wonderful. Yes, if you want to keep putting them in, that's wonderful. Because my friends, we all know this. When babies are born, they aren't taught to hate. Out of the mouth of babes, I could say. And so how we move forward with raising families and in our communities, that's where all of this comes in. And that's what an inclusive culture is for. And we're going to be talking about this. So that is the book that I wrote because I started a blog. I had a 2-year blog, and I was like, I would like to give resources to my friends who want to be better allies to the LGBT community. So the first letter is A, talks about being an ally. B is bisexual. C is cisgender. You kind of get the idea. And it's funny because my stories are in it. So it's a quick read, just 112 pages. Now, this is not a plug for the book. This is just something to think about, because the chapter S is how to show, shift, and shape our community. And before I move on, I've been in the chat. Does anyone have any questions for me quickly so far?
I have a quick question.
Absolutely.
About, I have a friend who identifies as she, they.
Yep.
What is the difference between those
Two pronouns?
when someone self-identifies as?
Andy, that's a wonderful question, and thank you for asking. And I will tell you that you will be seeing more theys and thems in our younger population. And if you are an English teacher or the grammar bothers you, I'll just let you know that in 2019, Merriam-Webster added they to the dictionary because it was the most looked up term, and it is individual. So my apologies if you have a PhD in grammar. You can talk to Merriam-Webster, but we're excited that they and them are in the dictionary. So Andy, to answer your question, however that person identifies, could be that, sometimes they're she when they're in certain situations. Okay. Maybe they take on female characteristics, or the term is actually assigned female at birth. And so then if they use the they, it may be that, sometimes I don't want to be put into a box. So I'm just going to use they.
Okay, got it.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
a great question.
I refer to her as her because that's how I was first introduced to her.
Mhm.
But I know that that's how she identifies herself.
Mhm.
And her name is gender neutral.
Yep.
And she's actually she's my web developer. And she's in Denver. So I've never met her in person. So initially there was some confusion when I was introducing her to others as to how to introduce she, they.
And Andy, thank you for that. That's what a capital A ally is. We're going to talk about the shift that happens from a small a to a capital A. And when in doubt, just ask. And that is a wonderful example. So I applaud you. Here's how the first S comes in and showing what you're doing. So this is you. This is what you have. So I always go to the website of anyone that I'm going to present to and try and do my own research. Now, the bottom picture is not you. That's my other church picture that I use just randomly. So now I can use yours as well because you've got the rainbow hearts. Now, whether that was done intentionally, again, we sniffed that out and I was like, yay, they like us, hooray. So I will say, bravo, Midvale. And if anyone is on here who created that logo, or whether it came from Mother Church, I don't know, what would you call ELCA? National, is there a term for it? Yeah, because ELCA has go ahead, Jocelyn, what do you call it?
It's called a synod.
The synod,
SYNOD.
Yes, okay. And so, so then ELCA also has a globe and it has some different colors in it too. Anyway, this is you. So you are showing to me that if I'm looking to join a church, this is the very first thing that I would look for. Okay. Some people think that it doesn't go far enough, but let me tell you, as a first step, this is how you show. Okay. And you can see the other picture down there, all are welcome. Again, with the rainbow. Even if I identify as transgender or non-binary or genderqueer, even with that start of having the rainbow, I have an idea that this is a welcoming place for me. And then you also use the term all. And when I do trainings for schools and corporations, I always ask, tell me about the all. Because when I was growing up, let me tell you, the all meant people who look like us. Baptized, confirmed, Missouri Synod. Wanted to be a pastor. Not kidding you. The gift of gab is what I had. I was up in the pulpit every Saturday because we had to clean the church. It was a small church, let me tell you. And so I would be up there and I'd be talking. And then I remember telling my family, I was like, I'm going to be a minister. And they're like, you can't. What? Men don't hold office in our church. I'm 11 years old, my friend. I was ready to change the world. I mean, I played with tractors, right? I had G.I. Joes. I had no idea what was going on other than I love the church. I taught Sunday school. I did everything. Then I moved away to Washington, D.C. and joined ELCA because of the more open and affirming. Taught Sunday school there. In fact, my favorite lesson, I did a mini golf course through our church with Bible verses. There you go. If you ever want to do something fun for your teenagers, have a mini golf course and then they get popsicles because they're cheap and inexpensive at the end. So I come home. We have a new minister in my little church that I grew up. And two things happened. One, my aunt was upset that I was working for the YMCA and not a Missouri Synod Lutheran Church. And what I told her at the time, and I'm 18 right out of college, I said, you know, I really, and this is a true story, I really feel that I can reach more people who need to hear the message of love at the YMCA than just at the Missouri Synod Lutheran Church. Louisimo is where she wanted me to work. Second thing, new pastor was at our house, came in and told my parents that I was a baby killer because I was pro-choice as an ELCA person. And so this is where some of my trauma comes in from growing up in the church. I couldn't do anything because I was a female. And then I changed synods, just synods. And I was told that. And number three, it's really difficult for me to identify as I am and come back to the church. So thank you for letting me have that little catharsis moment with you right now. And I do have a master's in counseling and everything is fine. And I'm in therapy. It's all good. But Heather, that's why I love you so much that I am talking to a church. You are welcome, my friend. I saw you sign. Thank you. Here are some other things that you can do, my friends. I talked about the rainbows, and you can get, thank you, Nels, for that little thumbs up. That's wonderful. And so you can get, this is free from GLSEN, the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network, in case you need more things for your Sunday school. But I saw your video. Holy cow, those kids look happy. That's wonderful. You got glue sticks and markers and everything running around. So yay for you. This, I'm sorry, for those of you who are on the phone, I have another sticker, and it's called the Progress Flag. And the flag, it includes the original Roy G. Biv, okay? And there's also chevrons on there for Black and Brown, for our BIPOC, Black and Indigenous people of color, or our Q BIPOC, it's QT actually, queer and trans people of color. Lots of letters in there. Just know that if you have this flag that you're representing everyone, and then it has the blue and the green in there for trans visibility, and blue and green, jeepers creepers, the blue and the pink in there, my apologies, and the white triangle represents our friends who are questioning, okay? And so going back to what Andy was saying about pronouns, sometimes if you meet someone and if you aren't sure, then you just say, hi. Now, I'm very comfortable with who I am. I would say, hi, I'm Lisa. My pronouns are she, her. So that would be one way that you could do that. I also talk about my wife, and I use female pronouns for her so that people get the idea, oh, she's married to a woman, okay? And so these are just some other resources that you have. Holy cow, I should start speeding up here. So are we done at 11:30? What time are we done? Are we done now? We're not done now, are we? John, how much?
It's 11:30 is
okay. That's what I was thinking, but all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, what if they like have something else at 11? Okay, thanks. Okay, no, let's just keep going. Okay, so this again goes into the showing side of things. And my guess is that you've already thought about this when you have, because on your website, welcome new members, okay? And if you are bringing in families, which I know that you do as well, it's a really good idea. This is not a shaming thing if you haven't done this yet, but think about changing mother, father to parent, guardian. Caregiver is another term we're working in the educational system right now as well. It's more welcoming, because my guess is that you probably do have same gender couples who are, you know, have children and such. So I just wanted to, that's another way to have people feel welcome when they come in. And the millennials, I'm a Gen Xer. Hi, Kitty, in Lori's screen. Hi, Kitty. Sorry, squirrel. Kitty. So the millennials, they'll look at these kind of things, right? They will look to see, is there any representation of a rainbow? They're going to look at maybe that welcoming statement that I talked about. And you do have wonderfully enumerated out, you list out, here are who we like, not that who you like, but all are welcome here. So I just wanted to say you're doing a great job with that. This is just something else. This can also be maybe out in the real world, maybe at your human resources, whatever business you work at. If you don't have these things out there, something to think about. And it doesn't just have to be maternity leave and paternity leave. Maybe it's just parental leave, okay? Or family leave or something like that. Okay, here we go. It is time for trivia. What comes once in a minute, twice in a moment, but never in 1,000 years? Put in the chat and you're going to win a free book. Comes once in a minute, first one to put the answer in twice in a moment, but never in 1,000 years. That's right. Oh, my friend Emmy. Yes, there you go. It is the letter M. You, my friend, get a free book coming to you. I will get your address later. Yay, it is the letter M. That's just fun. Does it have anything to do with inclusivity? No, it's just fun. Well, I mean, you can use it, because when I was looking for this, I was like, well, I'm speaking to adults, but this is a middle school riddle. So well done, Emmy. I will get your information later for a free book. Excellent. We've talked about show. Shift is the next thing. My shift happened when I was a middle school counselor and I was in Stoughton. So you're all familiar with the area, okay? Second year as a middle school counselor, here, I knock on the door, in walks a student, and it was a student of color. So you all know Stoughton. Student says to me, Miss Koenecke, it's easier pretending to be a boy than it is to be gay in this town. To which I was like, whoa. Here I was at that time, a 40-year-old, this is 12 years ago, white, cisgender, woman of privilege, and I wasn't out to the students yet because I was afraid I was going to get fired. So I looked over at my desk and I saw this pen. And for those of you who can't see it, it's the Trevor Project pen. The Trevor Project is the nation's leading suicide prevention hotline for the LGBT youth who want to kill themselves. And that is the #1 population of teenagers that die by suicide. And so I saw that pen on my desk and I was like, I need to do something. I need to help this student. So I went home, talked to my wife, and the next day I came out to that student, which was a big thing for me because I was afraid, right? And this was only 12 years ago. I had, you name the award on my wall. I was the president of the Wisconsin School Counselor Association. I was afraid that I was going to get fired. So that was my shift. And I said, you know what? I have to do something for the student. So that's when I started writing my blog. I wanted the Heathers of the world. I wanted the Judys of the world to have resources so that they knew what to say around maybe neighbors who were gay or relatives or whatever it was. And it's okay. It's okay. Everything was okay. And I put in my funny stories. I already said that. And so the book came out, and now I have book #2 is out. Heather, I don't know if I told you this. Maybe I did at MABC. And it has journal pages in it because someone influenced me to do some deep reflection. So way to go, Heather Dean, on that. You should teach learning and stuff and curriculum for a living. That'd be really good if you did that. So the second book has reflection pages in it. And I talked about the hippocampus. Andy, are you ready for the sound? Okay, here it comes. So that is your hippocampus, and it helps you remember things, okay? Please don't leave the presentation yet. Anyway, so the second book is now out so that other people can learn about this. And I'm doing a book study with school counselors in Maine so that gay kids will stay alive.
Wait, you're doing it in Maine?
I wish I were flying to Maine, but I mailed them the books, and then I will do it virtually.
Okay, because I need to introduce you to somebody in Maine, so let's stick around afterwards.
Yes, fabulous. Yes, I've actually spoken. South Dakota was my 30th state that I've presented in with all of this information, so I'm excited about it. Another shift happened when my wife and I moved from Fitchburg all the way to Middleton. Ooh, and Middleton, maybe a little bit more conservative than Fitchburg. We were nervous, okay? Here we were, and we're like, we don't know what our neighbors are going to be like. Are we going to get egged because we're gay? On our street, the sign that you see was on not one, but 2 houses on the same street. They didn't know we were coming, but we saw this sign by Kristen Joyner, who actually was from Wisconsin. And I was like, this is a safe neighborhood. That sign helped sell our house. So that is showing and shifting that our neighbors went from being a small A ally to maybe hearing a homophobic or a transphobic joke and not knowing what to say, to shifting to a capital A ally where they're showing this. They're like, dear friends, you are welcome in our neighborhood. And I waited a little bit when we moved in so I didn't scare them and like knock on their door and bring them brownies, okay, to thank them for these signs. But I said that, and then our story went viral. And I have school counselors in the northern part of the state who were calling Kristen and saying, we want this sign. It can be as simple as that to shift how people think. And now we have this sign too, because it's going from being a small a ally to a capital A ally. And that proud ally sign right there has everything included in it. I would like it if something were brown to include our black and brown brothers and sisters, but anything that you have, my friend, that is a rainbow is going to be how you can shift mindsets and perceptions. Here are the big terms. And again, there's no test on this. This is just one of those things that maybe you will see, maybe you will hear. And this is going to be for your younger millennials, maybe grandchildren, whatever it might be, kids in your neighborhood, that a lot more people are now identifying as genderqueer, gender nonconforming. And so you just go with it. In fact, I had a student once who was a mermaid, and I was like, that's fantastic. Teach me about the mer culture. So I learned about being a mermaid and helped that student, because the younger students, the younger people in your church, family members, okay, I promise you that they will be using these terms. And whether you have pictures of flags up, great. If you don't, that's okay. Again, simplest thing, rainbow. All right. And you can still be an ally without having a rainbow. So I don't want to say that you're not an ally if you don't have a rainbow, but I just wanted to show you different ways that you can think about how people identify, and however they tell you or whatever they tell you, however they identify, you go with that. Okay. And I will even, in fact, if it's names. And so Andy, I'm so glad that you had Andy in parentheses. You're not in trouble. I just love that you're so attentive, because I was like, so friend with this name, and I did this to Emmy too. I said, how do you pronounce your first name? It could be Andrea. It could be Andrea, right? But then I just went with Andy because that looked fun.
Yeah, no, Andy's Andy's how I go by at church. So that's why I put it in parentheses.
Fantastic. All right. So I'm going to keep going here. This is where you have your influence. This is where your shaping of policies and procedures can come in. For those of you on the phone, I have a circle right now, and it's different dimensions. In the middle, it's our personality, and that's blue. And that's actually who we are. Okay. We were born, we have our ways of thinking about things. And then there's internal dimensions for friends on the phone, and that's green. These are things we can't change about ourselves unless we have a lot of money. I mean, you know, surgery can change things, but we have age, hard to change that. Gender, again, you can. Sexual orientation, physical ability, ethnicity, and race. So again, these are the things that people might see right when you walk in. So when I walk into a room, you know that I'm white. I don't have to say anything about that. I'm a female, I'm tall, big build, and I have short hair. I don't wear makeup, and a lot of the clothes that I wear are more assimilated toward the male side of the binary. I get called guy a lot, sir a lot. And I don't want to change who I am. So when I'm in Target, just happened, well, this was pre-COVID because I didn't have my mask on. Walking in Target, and young child says, look at that guy's sweatshirt. I don't even know what I was wearing. And I turned and I looked at the youngster and I said, nope, I'm a girl with short hair. And then I just looked at the adult and I smiled. And that's all that I said. I didn't throat punch anyone. It was just an easy way to explain, you know, that girls can have short hair. So again, that's our internal dimensions. We can change this, we can't change this, but sometimes we are judged by maybe our age, right? Okay, could be whatever it is. And then there's a yellow circle, friends on the phone, that talks about external dimensions. We choose where we live. So I told you our example of moving from Fitchburg to Middleton because of a sign. And that's why we're in our neighborhood. I, for the most part, I have privilege that I can decide where I want to work, how I want to work. I knew I wanted to get a master's degree, and I had less barriers that I had to go through than other people who don't have my privilege. Again, yes, I worked hard. Yes, I know that I have privilege. And for other people who do have privilege because of your skin, your income, whatever it might be, yes, okay, we're not taking any of that away from anyone. Let's just make a bigger pie so that we can all have some of the pie. It's just that I did not, even though I grew up on a farm, I did not have the barriers that my brothers and sisters of color or lower socioeconomic status or English is not their first language had. So I know that I have privilege, and that's why I love talking to people to say, you know what, here's how we can change our world. This is what Midvale is doing as well, by actually having me come in and talk. And then the last circle is our organizational dimensions. Let's take a look at our policies. Do they, and you at Midvale, you're doing this, right? You enumerate, you list out, you know, all of these people are welcome at our church. And then think about your world of work outside of church, okay? Do you say that, you know, do you have gender neutral bathrooms? Do you have parking spots for people who might be of a varied ability? My guess is probably yes, but that's where the whole policy, or yes, where you can shape different policies that you have. And Andy, I thought of you as soon as you asked this question. I'm so glad I had this in here for you, my friend, that when you aren't sure what to say, this is what you can say. You know, thank you. I didn't realize that before. Maybe it's going to be an age thing. Maybe it's a gender thing. Maybe it is, you said something, and like my uncle had polio. And so when people talk about, you know, people on crutches and whatever, I mean, that stings me. When people talk about, you know, neurodivergence, my nephew has autism. So I didn't realize that. Or if I make a mistake, hadn't thought of it, okay? I think I'm understanding, and I'm going to get better. I was wrong about that, but I've changed my mind. Whether you were wrong or not, depends upon how you want to say that. I should do more research before I argue this point. And I will tell you that I was asked when the Asian hate was happening, and a lot more Asians, AAPI, Asian American and Pacific Islanders were getting hurt and those kind of things. Someone reached out to me and said, you know, can I talk to you? And I was like, yes. And I am sorry to say that I don't know a lot about the AAPI culture. And she said, that's okay. You're a white middle-aged lesbian. I was like, yes, I am. Let me help you and use my privilege to share your message. So again, I am doing a lot of research on different things. I did research on, you know, you folks before I came on. And so this is, we don't have to show this. So I'm going to ask Heather, because I would love for you to come off for a second. Heather doesn't know that I had this up. So Heather, can you unmute for a second, please?
Sure.
You're not in trouble. You're just my closest friend on here. I mean, a lot of you are nice friends to me too, but okay. So this is from The West Wing. So 2008. It's a video clip where Martin Sheehan, who is President the president, my apologies, I get all of my like presidents mixed up, is talking about how homosexuality is talked about in the Bible. And it's a 4-minute clip, and he does use the word ASS in it. And so I was like, oh, I don't know if I should show this clip. So I don't have to show it. It just talks about how, you know, if people say that the Bible says that being gay is wrong, chapter, verse, there are other things in it. So I'm okay if you say no.
Lisa, I would love it if you'd put the link in the chat maybe, okay, and people could watch it on their own, because I think we'd love to hear more of your advice with the minimal time that we have left. I don't want to eat up 4 minutes that we could learn from you, if that's okay.
Absolutely. And Nan and Mark have seen it. So thank you, Nan and Mark. So yes, I will do that, my friends, when we let me move on to the next thing. But yes, thank you. I'm glad I asked permission. Okay, so this is my book. These are the flags that are represented. These flags I got at Target. How cool is that? So thank you, Target. And then they donate money from this in June during Pride Month to GLSEN, the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network. So we've got the rainbow flag, we've got the transgender flag. That's a straight ally flag. Ooh, how fun. Straight allies with the rainbows and the black and white. Then we have, it's kind of hard to see, but that is, oh my gosh, now I'm getting these mixed up. I think that that is the pansexual flag. One thing to know about pansexual is hearts, not parts. Doesn't matter what you like. And then I think I have a gender queer flag in there. So don't quote me on that, but just know that you can get these flags at Target in June. June 1st, I will be there. So just, you know, I'll be nice and let you ahead of me if you want to get more flags at Target. So let me just double check here. The asexual flag. Thank you, Emmy. You are on it. All right. So there we go. We've got lots of different things. So my friends, this is for you. This is your take home. Okay. I didn't have a worksheet. Sorry, Heather, but I will ask the question anyway. So how will you show that you're an ally? It doesn't have to be to the LGBT world. How do you shift your mindsets? And how do we shape our world? I would love to, I will open up the chat to see if anybody has any thoughts on that, or friends who are on the phone, if you want to unmute. Is there anything that you learned today about how you can show how to be an ally?
This is going to sound silly, but I think some of my signs in my windows have faded over the season. And so I probably need to update those. So that might just be a real easy exchange, right? But I haven't really thought about like, oh, those colors probably aren't as pronounced as they could be. So maybe each April I mark down that I need to make sure that the colors are and that the text is showing up, right?
That's wonderful. I just got goosebumps. Yes,
know.
Heather, thank you. And even if they're faded, we're going to sniff out that you're a nice person. So thank you for that. Oh, thank you, Lori, for putting it in there. Talk to your leadership about work on putting a sign in the windows. Yep. And it's easy. It is. You can even get a sign from the LGBT chamber for $5. In fact, that's why I have my money at Summit Credit Union, because of a rainbow sticker on their door. And we will take a look at Our Lives magazine, which is the LGBT magazine for this area and for the state. That's where we spend our money. So that's who I know is going to be, you know, open and affirming to us, and where we can feel comfortable. So excellent. How about shifting? Has anyone thought about shifting mindsets?
Lisa, this is Nels. I think one of the things that I think drives a lot of the predominant style of where people are coming from is fear.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that I need to focus on, I suspect, is how to not trigger fear in others and recognize where fear is coming from in me.
Wow. And yes, and wonderful. And thank you. And it does my heart good to hear that, because it is actually fear that has broken my family apart. And just to let you know that I have been disowned. My mother died in 2014. And on the way up to the funeral, I got a phone call from my sister saying, I'm just the messenger. That always sounds good, right? The day before you're heading up to pick out the casket for your mother. And she said, if you're bringing her with you, she's not welcome at the cemetery, the visitation, the church, and she won't be listed in the obituary. that was fear from my father and my brother. And so Nels, it does my heart good to hear you say that. And, you know, the best thing that I can say, and you're all wise, smart, loving people, is to say, you know, welcome and hello, and asking people, you know, how can I help? So that's wonderful. So thank you, Nils, for that. And then John talked about showing diversity in leadership of the church. Yeah, and you can do that. And even if everyone looks the same for the most part, I mean, there is diversity if we are all white and all of the same age. So how do we bring that forward? Do we have different food? Do we have different celebrations? Do we talk about, you know, I mean, mental health is a big thing that, you know, has been shunned, and we don't talk about those things. So how can we bring that forward and support other people? And I'm not saying that you folks don't do that, because I'm sure that you do. Yeah, and then shaping your world. So that is what it's all about, my friends, and you're doing a fantastic job of it. I'm going to leave time for questions. Yes, hello, friend on the phone. Go ahead.
This is Nancy Abraham.
Hi, Nancy.
And I'm glad you now mentioned the two words mental health, because in a sense, NAMI kind of, in a sense, had its start at Midville many years ago.
Wow.
And you're familiar with NAMI?
Absolutely. I teach it to my grad students. Yes.
The National Alliance on Mental Illness?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to point that out. But I also wanted to, along with that, I was going to ask you, neurodiversity.
Yep.
So is that including all things of the brain, not solely autism? Because that would include schizophrenia, that would include Parkinson's, that would include cerebral palsy, I mean, on and on. So sometimes I think we need to think about the words that are now suggested, whatever it may be for, because does it really cause inclusivity in a way that people understand what's included within that? Or is it only including one part of something that may leave all the other kinds of things out, right or wrong? I'm not saying they should or shouldn't be.
Right.
And also, what about mother, father? I mean, I'm a mother.
Yeah.
So if we as a church, we need to think about inclusivity, not then in that whole process, excluding by what has been included. So, I mean, all of these things, as you know, and we all know, are very complex.
Oh, yes.
And yeah. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Absolutely. And Nancy, what I will add in is that from the vantage point of including everything in neurodiversity, to be honest with you, I don't know I haven't researched enough about that to tell you, but what I can tell you is that if I say that I'm a neurotypical person, rather than saying that I'm normal, it opens people's minds to saying, how interesting. And then we can have a conversation. Now, some people aren't ready for that. It's just like, this goes into your second example, to be able to say, you absolutely can have mother, father. And then I hope that maybe then there's a slash that says parent one or guardian one. So you can have both. My apologies for coming across saying that you can't have those things.
No, of course, one can have. And I think that I see that in things related to family and youth in our own church, of guardian or parents, not solely mother, father. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I've seen that in some of our literature and so on. So it's
a journey.
Yes, indeed.
You don't have to do everything. You're welcome, my friend. You don't have to do everything right away. I mean, the fact that you're having these conversations is so wonderful. The fact that 20 people are here right now, right on, Heather Dean. Way to go, John. Way to go, everyone. Midvale Pastor is even here. So I don't know who is here, but that's wonderful, Midvale Pastor. Other questions that folks have? One coin fund. Excellent. I don't know what that is, but it sounds great. So one coin. Hey, so John, I think that you were, oh, both pastors are here. Excellent. Excellent. John, go ahead. I am so sorry. Go ahead, John. You're on with Lisa.
Well, when you were talking, I was sort of thinking that, as a church, we can say that we're welcoming and inclusive, but nonetheless, people come to our community, with certain traumas from their past and messages that they've heard. And I wonder if there's a way to provide some space for people to process those traumas and messages that have accumulated over the years. And obviously everyone has their own story and has to be able to tell it on their own terms, so I can't force anyone to do it, but I just wondered if you had any thoughts about that.
The answer is yes. I think that would be wonderful, and I think that your community way better than I would coming in. I do teach trauma at the graduate level, and I think that you said it correctly, John, is having that space. And, it may be one person who shows up the first time, it may be somebody else. And I will tell you I was traumatized by the church. And so Heather has asked me many times. And I was like, nope. And from the vantage point of, I am not even comfortable coming into a physical building. And that's my own stuff, and I'm working on that. And it's having the space to be able to say, and maybe you can even start with the celebrations of the month. So Nancy was talking about how, NAMI had its start at Midvale. And maybe it's like, we are going to have a reading or watch a video on Mental Health Awareness Month or adoption. And my guess is that you do this already. And then to be able to say, your pastors are wonderful people, and counseling is actually even talked about in, I read one of the Pastor Rebecca, Katie. Kate, is that right? Okay, good. Okay, sorry. So in Pastor's Katie bio, it talks about counseling in there. And even though I have a master's in counseling, I know that then, we can have conversations. And some people are okay having a one-on-one with a pastor. Some people are okay in small groups. Some people might just want to do a coffee list thing like this, whatever it's going to be. But I think having the space is going to be wonderful and very beneficial for all of you, because regardless, every single one of us has some type of trauma, whether we talked about it or whether we haven't. And there are lots and lots of resources out there from NAMI and state of Wisconsin too.
Well, since we're at the end of our hour, I just wanted to again thank you. If you're willing to hang on for a few minutes, if there's any other questions. Nels, did you want to give a plug for next Sunday's Adult Ed? I don't have the handy, so maybe you do. Sorry.
Sure. Again, Lisa, I want to thank you for your presentation. I think you bring humor to a very sensitive topic, and I think as somebody mentioned in the chat, you would be welcome. So please feel free to continue to interact with us as you see fit. But for next week, if you so choose, and everyone else as well, there will be a presenter coming in to talk about how she got into farming. And, her name, she is actually somebody who produces and sells goods in the farmer's market. And Paris, Carolyn, can you help me with the last name?
Her name is Lisa, and I don't know her last name, but
Natasha.
They are on a farm north of Madison, but they do come to the farmer's market. And this is part of a Care for Creation effort. Earth Day is this week, the 22nd on Thursday. So next Sunday, we'll be celebrating that. And she'll be talking a little bit about how she came to what we call newer regenerative agriculture, and how the soil and how we raise our food is really foundational for our whole world. And I think it's going to be a really exciting program. She's a dynamic speaker, and we've heard her, and we would encourage everybody to come.
Yeah, Natasha Paris, that's her name.
Natasha, I've got the wrong name, sorry.
That's all right.
Well, I knew it wasn't Lisa Koenecke, I can tell you that.
So again, if you are so inclined, please send an request to info@midvale, midvalelutheran.org, so that we can get you on the list for the next Zoom. And I thank everybody, and be safe and enjoy the weather. It's great out there. So.
Yes, it's beautiful. Lisa, before you sign off.
Oh, I'm here. Ask me questions, my friend.
Oh, okay. Actually, I didn't have a question. I just wanted to follow up on my comment about my Maine.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Pasha Marlowe, and I just took a screenshot of your email, so I have it. Yes. So hopefully I connect you two. She is, has her master's in therapy, but she no longer does traditional therapy. She does through humor, and she actually teaches stand-up comedy to people who have gone through trauma. And she is also bisexual. She's married to a man, and she has a son who's on the autism spectrum. And she has had trauma in her life, obviously, but so she helps mostly middle-aged women. She has this funny Facebook group called Midlife Mischief and Merriment. And then she has these therapy groups that she does, and she trains people to work through their trauma with humor. And she's in Maine.
Well, and she could be a guest speaker for you folks if you want to get started on, humor and trauma. So I would say, yeah, absolutely.
I thought the two of you would like totally connect.
Oh, well, because I'm really funny. So yeah, we will absolutely.
You are really funny. And just when you're pain and the fact that you work with trauma, I'm like, okay, all right, I gotta connect you guys.
Thank you, Andy. Very fun. Hi, Heather.
Hi, Lisa.